My golden child brother totaled my restored Mustang, so I sent his law school dean the dashcam footage of him snorting coke. I was staring at the twisted mass of midnight blue metal that used to be my 1969 Mustang Fastback, feeling the bile rise in my throat. The smell of burnt rubber and ozone was thick in the air. My brother Trey was sitting on the back of the ambulance at 2 a.m., checking his hairline in the side mirror, completely unhurt. "It's just a car, Mason," Trey said, waving a dismissive hand at the wreckage I had spent 5 years and every spare dime restoring. "Dad will write you a check. Stop looking at me like you want to kill me." "You stole my keys, Trey," I said, my voice sounding like gravel. My fists were clenched so tight my fingernails were cutting into my palms. "You took it for a joyride and wrapped it around a telephone pole." "I borrowed it," he corrected, flashing that winning smile that had gotten him out of trouble his entire life. I was celebrating. "I got into Columbia law, remember? Lawyers drive nice cars." My dad pulled up in his Range Rover a minute later. I expected him to scream. I expected him to drag Trey by the ear. Instead, he walked right past the wreckage of my hard work and hugged Trey. "Thank God you're okay," Dad breathed. Then he turned to the police officer. "Officer, my son swerved to avoid a deer. He's shaken up. I'll handle the towing." I watched in silence as Dad worked his magic. No breathalyzer, no field sobriety test, just a handshake and a promise to donate to the police benevolent fund. Trey was going to walk away clean again. "Mason," Dad said, turning to me as the tow truck arrived at 3 a.m. "Don't make this a thing. Trey has a bright future. A DUI would ruin his life before it starts. I'll buy you a Corvette, just let it go." I didn't say a word. I just watched them drive away. They thought they had scrubbed the scene. They thought money fixed everything. That's when the real bombshell dropped. The next morning, I went to the scrapyard to sign the release forms. The cabin was crushed, but the dashboard was intact, and tucked discreetly behind the rearview mirror was the 4K dashcam I had installed last week. Dad didn't know about it. Trey definitely didn't know about it. I pulled the SD card and plugged it into my laptop in the cab of my truck. The video started at 1:45 a.m. Trey wasn't swerving for a deer. He was drifting, but it was the audio that froze my blood. "Dude, I am so wasted," Trey was shouting over the roar of the engine. There was a sniffing sound, loud and clear. "This stuff is pure. And the best part, the proxy worked. I paid that nerd $5,000 to take the LSATs for me and I scored in the 99th percentile. I'm gonna be a lawyer, bro. I'm gonna be untouchable." He laughed, a cruel, arrogant sound, right before he lost control and slammed into the pole. I sat there for a long time. Dad wanted to buy me a Corvette. He thought my silence was for sale. I didn't upload the video to YouTube. That was too messy. Instead, I found the email address for the Dean of Admissions at Columbia Law School. I attached the video file with a simple subject line: "Candidate misconduct and academic fraud evidence." I hit send at 10 a.m. 3 days later, we were at a celebratory dinner at a high-end steakhouse. Dad was toasting Trey's future. "To the future senator," Dad bellowed, raising his glass. Trey's phone pinged. He smiled, pulling it out. Probably another congratulatory email. His face went gray. The glass slipped from his fingers and shattered on the table. "What?" Dad asked, putting his fork down. "What is it?" They rescinded my acceptance," Trey whispered, his voice trembling. "And they're reporting me to the Bar Association for ethical violations regarding the LSAT." "That's impossible," Dad shouted, standing up and drawing the attention of the whole restaurant. "I'll sue them." "On what grounds?" Trey looked up, his eyes locking with mine. He knew. He saw the cold, dead look in my eyes and he knew exactly what had happened. "They have a video," Trey croaked, "of the crash." "I told you," I said, taking a slow sip of my water. "It wasn't just a car." The drive home was silent. Dad tried to yell at me, but I just turned up the radio. Trey is currently living in the guest room, his reputation nuked, working at Dad's warehouse for minimum wage because no school will touch him. So, am I the monster for destroying his entire future? Or did he crash his own life the second he decided he was above the law?